Hi, this is Sara Levin, the Artful Inker. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and today I'm here to share this Prize Peony Friend card with you. So let me set this aside and we'll get to the creating. For this card, we're going to start with a piece of Artistry Blooms designer paper. And the Artistry Blooms paper is a 12 by 12 designer paper, and there are 6 double-sided designs, and the lovely thing about these designs is that they give you the look of a technique without actually having to do it. So we're going to start with a piece of the designer paper that is cut to 3 7/8 by 5 1/8, and we're going to enhance the look of, it's kind of an ombre crackle paint going on here, and I've got some of the Frost White shimmer paint, and let's just pour a drop on my lid here, and we'll put this out of the way. And then I want to wet my water painter brush just enough that this is going to shake off of here. I don't want to get the shimmer paint too wet, and then we're just going to splatter on a few little drops like that, and that'll give it a little more look of we did it ourselves. So we'll set this aside and let it dry while we're moving on to the next step. Next, we're going to use the Prized Peony stamp set to create our floating border for this card. I'm going to bring that scrap paper back in and a piece of Whisper White, and in fact I'm going to turn it over to a previously inked side so that we can both see a little more of what's going on here. So I've got the large peony stamp, and I have already stamped and cut out a peony to use as a mask. It's on text weight paper. I like that for my masks because it's thin and you're not as likely to get a border between your images. So I'm going to use the Magenta Madness. Now I did cut my mask with the coordinating peony dies, and you can you can do that, or you can cut it out by hand. The only tricky bits then will be in between there. So I'm going to start in the corner of my piece and stamp. Just want to make sure I give it a good rub all over. Now I'm going to lay my mask on, and you'll notice, of course, when we die cut we get a little bit of a border on it, and since we don't want an overlapping border, a white space border in our stamping, I'm going to offset this just a little bit. And then when we put this down, there won't be a white border between the images. They'll look like they're overlapping each other. Okay, so we'll lay this back on and offset it slightly again. I'm just leaving it so that the outline of the image that's already there is showing up. And we're just going to put that down, hold that in place, and then we're going to move this up and again place it so that it's just showing the border of the stamp below it. And then let's move this down so I'm not right up at the end of my camera range. And hold this and come up, and there we go. Let's close up my ink pad, put my mask aside. It's there to use for another time. And then I'm going to begin and fussy cut this. And you do want to let the paper do the work for you. So you're going to move the paper and not the scissors. And I'm leaving a small white border. That will help this to stand out more on our background. I'm going to cut this big piece away. It's easier to work when there's not as large a piece kind of hanging off. You can cut a wider border if you so choose. There's not an absolute right way to doing these things. It's what you prefer. And for me, I want that little bit of border here. If you wanted a larger border, you could use my one simple trick for fussy cutting that I shared in a video recently, and use it to help you create that larger border. And I want to come around this leaf with a rounded edge rather than leaving a hard point. Okay, and there's our piece. So let me scoop this out of the way, and we'll get ready and put that card together. So I have a thick Whisper white base, and this piece that we did at the beginning. And I'm going to be a little careful as I put this down so that I'm not touching any of the dots that may not be dry yet. Just want to make sure I get all of my edges down. Okay. And then let me grab my dimensionals. And I need my mini dimensionals as well. Want to make sure that we're supporting this piece enough. So make sure you're supporting both this outside edge and the cut edge. And then let's see how close we can get here. And then I think I want one in here. This is a lot of space. Okay, so let's take these off. Oops. This one doesn't want to come loose. Oops. And we're almost there. Ooh, this one's a little high, so let me move it down. There we go. put one back on instead of taking it off. Okay, and this is cut to leave a little bit of a border, so don't press it down until you're sure you're in the place that you want to be. Let me turn it this way, and it might be easier to judge because then I've got 3 sides that I'm looking at the same time, this and then the top and bottom. Okay, and then let's do our sentiment. For that sentiment, we're going to use one of the well-written dies, and let's first create a layer for that die cut. So I'm placing my die on my Night of Navy cardstock and tracing the outline. I know you all have seen this in previous videos that I've done. You can hold this down with a little bit of washi if you like. I tend to just freehand it, which means it may move a little bit on you. And it doesn't have to be an exact science for this, so let's cut it off and then cut it out. And this same thing with allowing the paper to do the work for you rather than trying to muscle the scissors around curves. That doesn't really work. Then they get kind of ragged looking. Oops, I'm going to cut that off. And I do sometimes, as you see, cut off a piece or cut out further than I needed to, just because then it makes it easier to turn the cardstock into my scissors. I'm going to take that off and then start back here at the beginning of the curve and come around. Okay, there's our layering piece, and then I've got Friend cut out in Whisper White, and I'm just going to dot some of the Tombow multi-purpose glue on here, and it doesn't have to touch every single bit of the design. If I get it on thick in a place, I just use the tip of the bottle to pick up some of that glue and move it. Okay, like right there. Too much in one place. Now let's turn this over and bring this back in. And again, this is not an exact science, so you just need to fit it in there so that it looks like it has a border, and it does. And the trickiest part is the dot for the eye, and we'll pick that up with my Take Your Pick and dot on just, I'm going to squeeze a little bit of glue out and put it on there, and then we'll take this back down, and there we go. Easy as pie. Let's put this out of the way and move my scissors and bring our card back in, and let's grab dimensionals, of course. I think I'm better off with the mini dimensionals. So under the F, we're just going to put a single stack, and over here under the D, we're going to double them up so that when they're adhered, they'll be at the same height. And let's test to see. Okay, so we need a double stack here in the middle as well. Okay, let's pull off all of these bits. And I'm being a little more gentle once I've got them double stacked, because I don't want to pull up the whole stack. I just want the protective sheet. Okay, so let's line that up, and we'll lay this down. And then I'm going to add a few of these elegant faceted gems for some additional subtle bling. And I love that they pick up that kind of pinky hue from the paper. And that's it. So, our prized Peony friendship card. Thanks for stopping by. This was Sara Levin, the Artful Inker of theartfulinker.com. You can give this video a thumbs up. Leave me a comment. I love to hear what you have to say. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the bell if you'd like to be notified of future videos. And of course, all of today's supplies are available in my Stampin' Up! Store. Have a great day.